Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 93. Okay, let's talk about your metabolism. That's not what it's called. That's just a stupid name. Your metabolism. Do you know what? I'm going to say something that I feel like I say all the time. I work with a lot of people who... What else are you supposed to say? I have encountered many people who believe that the reason they can't lose weight is because of the metabolism. Now, what do I want to say here? I don't want to leave any room for people to believe that there's something wrong with their metabolism. We're not going to talk about this, right? But there are certain medical conditions that may have certain symptoms that might mean that a person's metabolism is not running as it should be. PCOS is one of them, polycystic ovary syndrome. But it's only people who have PCOS, they don't experience all the symptoms of PCOS. So I have encountered very few people. I've worked with hundreds of people who have PCOS. I have encountered very few of them who actually have a metabolism issue. And even at that, it doesn't stop you from losing weight. It just means that you have to create, as far as calculations go, create a bigger deficit. You're not really creating a bigger deficit. It's because the normal deficit doesn't work because your metabolism's reduced, sometimes by up to 25%. So like, for example, if someone's burning 2,000 calories a day, they're actually burning 1,500. And the reason they're not losing weight on 1,500 is because they're calorie burn. Anyway, but let's just say that for the vast majority of people, there is nothing wrong. Not a sausage. Nothing wrong with your metabolism. So coming back to I work with lots of people who, so I do a lot of check-ins, do a lot of mini check-ins with people. We get them started. We look at their diet history and they'll say, I think I've ruined my metabolism with years of yo-yo dieting. Now, that's not the case, right? There's nothing wrong with your metabolism. Your metabolism, what's the best way to explain this? What is the best way to explain this? Your metabolism is flexible, okay? It is not a set thing. If we think about, let's think about your BMR, okay? So your BMR is your basal metabolic rate. I do not want to talk like this throughout the whole podcast because it will get very boring very quick, right? But I'll try and keep it like relevant and understandable. So your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is the minimum number of calories your body can burn each day. Now, the way I want you to think of this is, imagine you went out and turned on your car, if you have a car, assuming you have a car. If you don't own one, right, just imagine you switch somebody else's car on. So you go out, you turn the key. Do people still turn keys or do they just push buttons? Anyway, you start the car. The car kicks in, it over revs a little bit, and then it settles down and the engine just kind of ticks over. That's what your BMR is. So the engine's running, but it's not doing anything. So it would be like lying in your bed for 24 hours and not moving a muscle. So my BMR is somewhere around 1,700 calories per day. I don't know off the top of my head. Your BMR might be 1,100 calories per day, or 1,200, or 13, or 14. Everybody has a different BMR. Now, your BMR is made up of, number one, your gender. So if I took someone who was the exact same as me, but a female version, I would burn more calories because it's just a genetic thing. Men genetically carry more muscle as standard. Like if someone had more muscle than me, it'd be a different story. You know, it could be someone the same age, height, and weight as me who lifts weights 10 times a week and they've got loads of muscle. But anyway, just two normal human beings who don't really exercise that much. You stand them side by side. The man would burn more calories than the woman because genetically we are genetically predisposed to carry more muscle, right? It's just how it is. It's not a fucking sex thing. It's just that's how we were made. Why am I trying not to offend people? So, your BMR is made up of, number one, your gender. Number two, your height. Number two is really just your mass, how much of you there is. That's what the other one is. Well, your age is another factor, but then there's your mass, which your height plays a part in. So I work with many people at like 4'9", 4'10", 5 foot, whatever, who are smaller human beings who have lower energy needs. And then I work with people at 6 foot plus who have higher energy needs. So ultimately, it comes down to how much of you there is, right? And how much of you there is will determine how much energy your body needs. So again, it doesn't matter, whoever it is, they're lying in bed for 24 hours, you will have a minimum number of calories that you burn. Now, the things that influence that are, what are the ones worth knowing about? Your fitness levels for a start, okay? Someone who is super fit, their body will run more efficiently, their heart will have to pump less, their resting heart rate will be lower. So people who are super fit actually burn fewer calories than people who are less fit because their bodies are fitter, healthier, and they can get more work done using less energy, if that's the best way to explain it. Other things that decide it, how much body fat you are carrying. So body fat is a living tissue. I'm actually going to grab this while, if anyone's watching on YouTube. So this pound of body fat, this is what a pound of body fat looks like. I don't know if it's that yellow. I don't think it would be. This pound of body fat is living tissue, right? It's like, body fat is like a battery. Every pound of body fat you carry is a battery, and contained within each of these batteries is around 3,500 calories worth of energy. Your body, now the reason I say it's a living tissue is because your body has to keep your body fat alive, because it's a battery that it might need one day, and it can't tap into dead fat. It has to tap into living fat. It needs to break this down at some point to use for energy, hopefully. So it has to keep it alive. Now, every pound of body fat you carry requires maintenance, and that maintenance costs energy. It's not a lot. It's 2 to 3 calories per day. But if someone is carrying 100 pounds of body fat, so like if one person's BMR is 1,200 calories, and another person who is the same age, same gender, same height, but different weight, so one person, their BMR is 1,200, then we take someone who weighs 100 pounds more than them, that other person's BMR would be 14 to 1,500, because their body is spending 200 to 300 calories maintaining that extra body fat that they're carrying. And then there's muscle, which I do not know off the top of my head because it's been a long time since I've discussed it. I want to say it's like 4 to 6 calories. I'm going to fact check it. Okay, that says 6 to 10 calories per pound per day, which I feel like is very high. But we'll go with it. It's a trusted source. So the thing about muscle is it's much more difficult to gain muscle than it is to gain fat. Like, everybody has like a genetic potential when it comes to muscle, and you have to work very hard to reach your kind of genetic potential, but there's like a maximum. And this is why people take, no, it's not why people take steroids, it's why some people take steroids. They go as far as they can naturally, and they want to take it further. So like, even if you reached your genetic muscular potential, which would be very difficult, and take a lot of consistent training and dedication and hard work, again, there is only so much you can add to your calorie burn with muscle. Body fat, sky's the limit. There is absolutely no limit to how much body fat you can gain. Anyway, so you've got body fat burning 2 to 3 calories a day. You've got muscle burning 6 to 10 calories a day at rest, which I really do feel is high. But whatever. So let's say you gain 10 pounds of, in fact, no, like, again, coming back to the same example, we've got the person sleeping 24 hours a day, burning 1,200 calories. And we've got the person who weighs 100 pounds more than her from body fat, burning 13 to 1500 calories. And then we get a third person who's the same age, height, gender, etc., but they're carrying an extra 20 pounds of muscle. Their BMR would be 120 to 200 calories higher. So your BMR, that's mostly what your BMR is made up of, right? Now, everybody has that. So everybody has that minimum number of calories they'll burn in a day. That makes up the first part of your calorie burn. The next part is movement. So if you are carrying that 100 pounds, but again, coming back to the two people, the person whose BMR is 1200 and then the person who weighs 100 pounds more, both of those people go for a 10K run at the same pace. The person carrying 100 pounds more will burn far more calories because they've got 100 pounds of weight to take on that run with them versus the lighter person. So again, their calorie burn would be much higher despite completing the same exercise. Anyway, the point is, your metabolism is complex. Most people don't understand what it does, but it can be affected with dieting. Now, it can't be ruined in the general sense of the word, and in the general meaning of what people think, right? People think they can break their metabolism. People think their metabolism stops working. People think when they're trying to lose weight and their weight's not going down, it's their metabolism's fault. It's not. Your metabolism is incredibly flexible. And here is the truth that most people don't realize. If you are overweight, if you have gained weight, if you are gaining weight, your metabolism is running at its absolute peak. So if you imagine someone's burning 2,000 calories a day, they're carrying extra body weight, they're still gaining weight a little bit, their metabolism is running at peak performance. It cannot run any higher. It's running so high, in fact, that it's reached the maximum it can go, which is 2,000 calories a day, and it can't go any higher, but the person's consuming more calories than that and gaining weight. Now, let's say that same person puts themselves into a calorie deficit for the next 6 months. Now, this is where your metabolism starts to change and starts to adapt, and it's twofold. Number one, it will start to adapt because there is less of you. So if you're burning 2,000 calories a day and you lose 20 pounds of body fat, part one, remember, 10 pounds of 1 pound of body fat is burning 2 to 3 calories per day. You lose 20 pounds of body fat, your BMR reduces by 40 to 60 calories. So yes, your metabolism has reduced because there is now less of you. You are burning 40 to 60 calories less per day. On top of that, you're now walking around each day, going on those runs, doing whatever you're doing without carrying 20 pounds around with you. So life gets easier as you get lighter. So your calorie burn reduces from that. And then there's a third part where your metabolism will start to become more efficient. I was going to say it starts to reduce, but that's not the right way to look at it. Your metabolism becomes more efficient because what happens is you're no longer living in the glory days of excess and weight gain and too many calories. You're now putting in less than you need. So your body needs to become more efficient with the energy that it is getting. So if I sit here and wave my arm around, right? Let's say that burns, I don't know, something stupid like 30 calories per hour if I kept waving my hand like that. Now, let's say I've been in a deficit for 6 months and I wave my arm like this for an hour. I can't even remember the number I said, but the number's lower now. And it's because my body has adapted to be able to accomplish that same task while giving it less energy to accomplish it. So your body becomes more efficient. It becomes less wasteful with calories. And this is where the metabolism reduction comes from. Your calorie burn before might have been 2,000, but because you've been on 1,500 for the last 6 months, you've lost body fat, which has reduced your calorie burn. no longer carrying that body fat around with you has reduced your calorie burn. But the third part is your body's also starting to become more efficient. So every day you wake up, your body's finding ways of getting by on less calories. Now, this is not drastic. Like it's when I work with people for like 6 months and they maybe don't see the scales come down for a week or two, they'll come back and say, oh, I need to change my calories. Like, it doesn't work like that. You don't go from losing a pound a week every week for 6 months to losing nothing at all because something's happened to your metabolism. It's a very long, slow, gradual process. So, for example, for the first 3 months, they'll lose a pound a week. And then it gets to month 4. And again, this is a ridiculous example because nobody's that consistent every single day for that period of time that you can notice it like this. But just this is how it would work, right? So for the first 3 months, they lose 4 pounds, 5 pounds every month, right? On the 4th month, they lose 4.5 pounds. On the 5th month, they lose 4.5 pounds. On the 6th month, they lose 4 pounds. So it's slowly reducing for those 3 reasons. Number 1, their BMR is reduced because there's less of them, so they're burning less calories. Number 2, there's less of them, so they're taking less weight around with them, so they're burning less calories. And number 3, their body's becoming more efficient because of the calories that they're putting in. It understands it needs to learn how to get by on less, so it becomes more efficient and less wasteful. So what's happening is the person's sticking to 1,500 calories, and gradually over time, their calorie burn is reducing very slowly, very gradually, and the size of their deficit is reducing. That's why the first 3 months it was all happy days and losing £5 a month. Then it slowed slightly for a couple of months, slowed again for a couple of months, but it would never just stop. You don't go from losing weight to not losing weight anymore, and it's because of your metabolism. It doesn't work like that. I have been in a very fortunate position to have worked with a handful of people who have been ridiculously consistent. I've worked with them for like 12 months, 18 months. And you could witness this happening, like people who lost 5, 6, 7 stones during that time. And it's like, you get to month 4, they've lost 3.5 pounds, and you go, right, it's time for us to step down. We're going to drop your calories by 200. Everything goes back to normal, and off they go for the next 3 or 4 months. Their weight starts to slow again. We drop things by 200 again. Off we go again for the next while. And that's how it works in real life, right? Your metabolism is not stopping you from losing weight. It's not broken. It's not damaged. However, I do want to add a little bit to this because while it's not quite damage, what did I call this? The truth about metabolism and weight loss. While it's not quite damage, there is something that people need to be aware of, especially if you're a long-term yo-yo dieter. So if you're someone who has yo-yo dieted for many years and you don't exercise, you haven't really addressed your protein intake. So when we lose body fat, we don't just lose fat. Like when we're losing weight, right? The number that we see in the scale, that's not just us losing fat. Remove water and food weight from the equation. Not sometimes, we do see it. We see muscle loss. And in extreme cases, we see bone loss. Now, people who do things like Cambridge Weight Plan or any kind of extreme shake diets, they don't just lose body fat, they lose muscle. And as well as muscle, they also lose skeletal mass, which I don't want to panic you or worry you if that's something that you've done in the past, but it's been and gone, and it's gone, and I wouldn't encourage you to go through anything like that ever again. It's not as prevalent in people who exercise because stimulus protects muscle more than protein does. So protein's important to protect muscle in people who don't exercise, but people who do exercise, who do resistance train, stimulus retains muscle more than just protein alone. Do both of them, you're on a great footing. You're going to lose mostly body fat. But the point is, if we come back to how many calories muscle burns, right? If you, let's say when you were 25, you were carrying 10 pounds of muscle and you were enjoying that 60 to 100 calories extra calorie burn, and then you went through some crazy diet cycle, and in your 30s you had lost 5 pounds of that muscle because you had dieted it away. Yes, you'd lost body fat, but you'd also dieted away 5 pounds of your muscle. Your metabolism has now reduced by 30 to 50 calories because of the muscle loss. So yes, you lost body fat and your metabolism reduced because there's less of you, but you also lost a lot of your good metabolism weight, your muscle. And then let's say you go into your 40s and you go through another crash diet and you lose another 5 pounds of muscle. You've now lost that 60 to 100 calorie boost that you had. And what happens is every time someone puts themselves through one of these yo-yo diet cycles, and especially when it doesn't address the quality of their diet, especially when they're not exercising, you keep losing and losing and losing muscle. Now, this is the kind of thing that makes people feel like dieting's much harder as they get older, because in their 20s, their calorie burn was 2,000 calories a day. In their 40s or 50s, they're around a similar weight, but they feel like they could lose a little fat. And yes, your metabolism just reduce a little bit with age, but because they've lost that muscle, their calorie burn is now significantly lower, as well as the normal aging process, but it's now significantly lower than it was in their 20s because they've lost that muscle mass. So it's not necessarily that you can damage your metabolism or break it, but you can certainly reduce it. For positive reasons and for negative reasons. Like positive metabolism reductions would come from fat loss. If you are carrying an unhealthy amount of body fat and you remove that body fat through dieting, awesome. Yes, your calorie burn will decrease, but it's a happy result of removing the unnecessary body fat from your body that was potentially going to have a negative impact on your long-term health. But then there's the negative side, which is the potential of dieting away a lot of your muscle and then being left with a very low calorie burn later in life. So yeah, you cannot damage your metabolism. You can't break it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to repair it. You don't need to do anything to it. It's very flexible. It bounces back by itself. If you are overweight or gaining weight, your metabolism is running at its peak right now. There is nothing wrong with it. It doesn't need reset. You don't need a detox or any of that nonsense. But if you are, it doesn't matter what age you are when you're reading this, whether you have 30 years of yo-yo dieting ahead you or 30 years of yo-yo dieting behind you, next time you lose weight, next time you want to go on a calorie deficit and lose fat, I would encourage you as a bare minimum to eat an adequate amount of protein. And if you want to really protect your health, your muscles, your bones, resistance train at the same time. And that way you have the best possible chance of keeping your body entirely focused on fat loss with minimal muscle loss. Anyway, that was a bit of a deep episode this week. Until next time.